We start with just a summary of the program.
Okay. So Mason Transit Authority operates the Volunteer Driver Program through partnership with the Lewis Mason Thurston Area Agency on Aging, and they provide funding for the program through the Older Americans Act and the Senior Citizens Act. And what that is funding both from the federal government and the state government specifically for senior assistance. And so they kind of set the stipulations of the program, which is that the clients be 60 years of age or older and unable to use public transportation and don't have any sort of support network at home available to them to provide them transportation to essential needs. So we utilize volunteers, and these volunteers use their own personal vehicles. They have a background check done. They have a driving record done, making sure that there's no moving violations in the last 5 years. And as well as we do a vehicle inspection and passenger assistance and defensive driving training, and that's all provided by the agency. And then once they've gone through that process, they start providing transportation. And the transportation they provide is for essential errands to these seniors, and that is, I think, about 90% of the trips that we provide, if not more, is for medical appointments. Okay. Most of these appointments are for special services that aren't found in Mason County, and so they're out of the county trips. We go all the way up to Seattle, Olympia, Bremerton. We've gone even as far south as Chehalis for cancer treatments, dialysis, eye surgeries. We have veterans who are utilizing veterans facilities in Seattle and Tacoma as well. And then in addition, there is other essential errands that we provide service for, such as grocery shopping, picking up prescriptions, church services, and other social functions as well. It's really an essential service for the county and for the folks. It provides the ability for them to maintain a quality of life and a sense of independence in that they get to stay at home longer, because it's a difficult thing for a senior to face when they have to give up their keys and they can't drive anymore for whatever reason. Mobility is huge as far as quality of life. Being able to get to all of these things that we need to do in order to meet those needs. Once you take that away, they're faced with, can I stay at home? Do I have a support network? And they may have a support network through friends or family, but most of those folks are going to be working. So in order to provide that transportation, they would need to be taking the day off work. Right. And so you kind of have that domino effect happen. And this also, in a sense, does save taxpayer money because of the fact that by allowing them to stay home, they're still contributing to economic development in the county by grocery shopping here and other services that they get throughout the county, versus going into a home where they're going to be paying $4,000 to $5,000 potentially a month to be in an assisted living facility, and part of that is going to be coming from taxpayer money in a different way. So
when you talk about criteria for the drivers, age limits,
the only criteria for the driver is that they have 5 years driving experience. So usually you're looking at 25 years of age is the youngest. The majority of our drivers, though, are retired because there is the time factor. This volunteer opportunity is pretty unique, though, in the fact that the time factor is flexible to the volunteer's needs. It's not like you have to show up for a shift Monday from 8 to noon, or it's completely up to the volunteer. We have some volunteers that drive once a week. We have some volunteers that drive twice a day. And beyond the driver's license has to be valid, the criminal background check because you're working with a vulnerable population, the driving abstract, which is no moving violations in the last 5 years, and then we require the training that happens, but we provide that training and it's done, it's renewed every 2 to 3 years. Defensive driving is just skills on how to be a defensive driver. Passenger assistance is how to safely assist somebody in a vehicle and out of a vehicle and through a door. So
some of your riders have some physical challenges?
Yeah, we do. Unfortunately, our program is not set up to be able to provide transportation to wheelchair users. If a client can't get out of a wheelchair and into a vehicle, because it's drivers' personal vehicles, none of them are equipped with wheelchair lifts. So in that instance, we have to recommend those passengers to other groups, our dial-a-ride service, as well as paid medical taxi. It's definitely an underserved population. But as long as the person is able to, we provide minimal assistance, such as a hand on the elbow, you know, if there's balance issues. But we have clients who use wheelchairs, who use other mobility devices, such as walkers, canes, things like that, and that's not a problem, as long as it can fit in the trunk of a car.
Okay. Now, talking about cars, you said you inspect the cars.
Mm-hmm.
Is it any car that somebody might have, or?
Yep. Yeah, it's any car that they're going to be using to provide the service will be inspected, and that's done on a yearly basis. And we do things just to make sure that it's fully functional, operating, and safe. You know, do the blinkers work? Do the brake lights work? Does the tire tread have enough on there to be safe? Do the seat belts work? Is the car clean? Is there, if there's things, are they secure so that if there was an accident, you're not going to have items flying at your face, kind of thing. And you know, of course, no smoking is allowed in the vehicle by drivers or clients. And we keep notes in client files and with driver files as far as what type of vehicle they drive, because for some clients, getting into an SUV might be an issue if there's a step up. Especially if there's mobility issues. So for that particular client, we wouldn't assign them to that driver. We would assign them to a driver that drives a sedan that they can sit down into. I have one driver who drives a small pickup truck. So he's one that we can't double up with. And by double up, I mean that because we're so short on drivers, we occasionally have more rides in a day than we have drivers available. So what we'll do is we'll look at our schedule and go, okay, are there 2 clients that are going to Olympia for an appointment within half an hour or an hour of each other? And we'll call those clients and we'll say, okay, we're short a driver, can we double you with this other client? And so that driver will be taking 2 people to 2 separate appointments in Olympia. And so, for instance, the driver with the pickup truck, we couldn't do that with.
So, and there's a reimbursement for mileage? Is that
There
right?
is. The funding that we get through the Area Agency on Aging allows us to provide that reimbursement. And we do it at the highest IRS refundable rate, which is currently set at 56.5 cents per mile. Which is more than what it's costing for gas per mile. So it's a little bit of a benefit and a plus for the volunteers.
Okay. And you have, how many drivers do you have currently?
We have 5 drivers currently. When I first started at Mason Transit 5 years ago, we had 17 drivers. So it has decreased quite a bit. I think that has to do with the gas prices having gone up. As well as we're competing with some other agencies. One in particular is out of Grays Harbor, and they happen to have funding that allows them to reimburse their drivers almost $1 per mile. So when you're kind of competing with those things, and it's always hard in the wintertime, I think, to recruit drivers because of the fact that when the weather's bad, people think about driving and they're just like, I don't want to drive. So it's a little bit easier in the summer. And we never expect drivers during the winter, during what we call inclement weather, to drive. Safety is number 1 and first priority. So if the weather is in a condition that isn't feasible for being safe driving, then we reschedule appointments, kind of thing. But the reimbursement rate is nice, and hopefully we'll draw some more volunteers in.
All right, and that's your goal here, is you're looking for volunteers?
We are. We've kind of been increasing our marketing campaigns for volunteer drivers and getting the word out. I think that a lot of people don't know that we reimburse mileage, and so I think that it's good to get that out there so that they know that they're not having to pay out money per se. It's just that they're donating their time and use of their vehicle. And then as well as the training that we provide. I know with a lot of insurance companies, if you provide them with a defensive driving certificate, you'll actually get a bonus on your insurance. And that they'll take a small percentage off. As well as I think a lot of people may not understand that it's flexible, and sometimes I think people hesitate to volunteer because of the time commitment, and we all have very busy schedules and things in our life that we're doing, and so getting the word out there that it is flexible and that you can always say no, because how it works usually is our coordinator, April Olson, she's the one scheduling and dispatching the trip, so she'll call the volunteers Thursday, Friday for the following week, and she'll say, these are the rides that I have that I need drivers for. Are you available for any of these? And at that time, the driver says, yes, I can do this ride. No, I can't do that ride. Or I'm on vacation next week. I'll be out of town. And so I think that that's really a nice benefit for this volunteer opportunity.
But the bigger the pool of drivers, the...
Yeah, because right now, as I said earlier, we have 2 drivers that are doing a majority of the trips, and they're accruing about 2,000 miles per month. And so what we're looking at right now is an unsustainable way of maintaining this program, because life happens, and if something were to happen with one of these drivers and they couldn't provide the service anymore, we would be hit with a detrimental impact. That's 2,000 miles. That's, probably about 80 or more trips we wouldn't be able to provide a month. That's, John Doe and Jane Smith not being able to get their radiology treatment. We're talking life-sustaining appointments, and so that's the big push. The more volunteer pool that we have to do the trips from, the better the service we can provide. It also means that we can increase the amount of service we're providing. We're currently in a place where some days we have to turn down trips. We have to call somebody and say, I'm sorry, we don't have a driver for you, so can you reschedule your appointment? And that's a hard thing to, as someone who coordinated the volunteer driver program, I don't do it currently the day-to-day, but when I was, that was one of the hardest things to do, was to call somebody and know that they would be disappointed in not being able to get the service that they're hoping to get.
Now, if somebody's interested or wants more information on the program?
If somebody wanted to volunteer or even needs service, the best way to contact us is by calling our administration office, and the phone number is 360-426-9434. We also have a 1-800 number, and it's 1-800-347-3747. They could also email our coordinator, April Olson, and her email can be found on the website, which is masontransit.org. It's another way to get a hold of us for services and to volunteer. And the great thing, part of the reason we're doing this week is it's actually National Volunteer Appreciation Week. Mm-hmm. So we're doing this in conjunction with that. And in addition, we are appreciating our volunteers by bringing attention to what they're doing so that the community knows the service that they're doing, the honor that they deserve. And later this year, we'll actually be doing a recognition ceremony. We do one every year. And it's a really cool ceremony where we partner with local businesses in the community, and a lot of them donate gift certificates or products from their businesses, and we create what's called a community gift basket, and we give that to the volunteers as a way of saying your community thanks you for what you do. And it's a twofold, because it also encourages local shopping and supporting local economy, and gets people who may never have been in that business into the business. And so that's a really great ceremony that we do every year for our volunteers.